Have you ever wondered, if everything falls apart tomorrow, would we even notice the signs today? America, the land of skyscrapers and endless highways, is shaking. Natural disasters are hitting like invisible blades, tearing things apart, flipping them over, sweeping away everything we've proudly built. This isn't just cold coincidence anymore. It feels like an urgent whisper from above, coming faster and harder, warning that humanity is sliding quickly toward the final edge. From tornadoes ripping through homes in Illinois and Missouri, fierce winds flipping cars on bridges, lightning sparking fires in California, to floods swallowing vehicles in Oxford, Mississippi, massive swirling flocks of birds over Oklahoma skies, waterfalls turning into rainbows, shopping malls drowned in muddy water. 10 events, like 10 dark puzzle pieces, stretching from the Midwest to the West Coast, fitting together into a picture that makes it feel like time is running out. Do you think this is just news, or a wake-up call meant for us? If all these signs are showing up at once, the question is, how much time do we have left? Let's keep going, because these terrifying pieces are only just starting to come into view. And you won't have to wait long, because right below here we're going to start with 1. Full view of the tornado in a parking lot, homes torn to pieces. The video starts without any warning. In just the first few seconds, a normal parking lot in Mount Zion, Illinois, changes completely. That moment makes you hold your breath, like you're right in the middle of the storm. No one screams, no one has time to run. There's just the roar of the wind and that chilling feeling when you realize things we think are solid can vanish in an instant. You're watching it all through the shaky frames. The tornado doesn't come slowly. It hits like a bolt from the blue, ripping sturdy homes into hundreds of pieces, tossing cars around like toys, sweeping away metal roofs, power poles, and signs. The quiet parking lot from a minute ago turns into a battlefield, with debris flying everywhere, spinning in the air like invisible blades. The video doesn't need any narration. The pictures alone show how helpless people are against nature's power. Weather reports from the Midwest say tornadoes in Illinois and Missouri can reach speeds up to 150 miles per hour, flattening thousands of square feet in a flash. This extreme weather system isn't isolated. It stretches from Missouri to Kentucky, creating a chain of destruction. Looking at the video, it's not just one spot wrecked. You see a whole region being tested, like something bigger is at work behind those wild winds. When you put this scene next to the words in Matthew 24:7-8, the Bible seems to whisper a chilling hint. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. The chaos in the video isn't called the end of the world, but it feels like the first knock on the door, warning that something more serious is getting closer. Of course, some people say this is just the result of climate change, the natural outcome of mistakes we've made to the environment. That explanation sounds reasonable. But when fierce tornadoes keep coming, one after another, with worse damage each time, viewers start to wonder, is this just plain science? Or is it a deeper reminder, like the warnings in the Bible? Luke 21:11 adds to the picture by talking about great earthquakes and fearful events and great signs from heaven. The Mount Zion video doesn't claim to be a miracle, but it leaves viewers with a hard-to-name unease, like we're being shown a sign, not just a random disaster. As the final frames fade, rubble stretches for miles, with no clear lines left between homes, roads, and parking lots. The feeling that lingers isn't just fear, it's the realization that America, the symbol of strength and control, can be shaken in a moment. And if one tornado can tear apart a whole neighborhood like that, what will happen when that power doesn't stop at wood and concrete, but starts hurling metal and steel into the sky? 2. Tornado tosses construction site metal sheets around. No warning siren, no sign it was coming. In just a quick moment, Video from a construction site in Stamford, Texas, catches folks off guard as huge metal sheets suddenly lift off the ground, floating in the air like some invisible hand picked them up. The first feeling isn't fear, it's shock, because that sight goes against everything we know about wind and gravity. The tornado didn't roar loud like in the movies. It came quiet, then suddenly picked up speed, lifting those heavy metal pieces, tons of them, off the site, spinning them around and hurling them dozens of yards away like spears. Wind whistling through the air, metal clanging against metal. It made for a tense scene that takes your breath away, where the line between safe and dead is just a few seconds. According to reports from Service Steel and the National Weather Service, areas in Texas and Oklahoma often get tornadoes that hit 200 miles per hour. In those conditions, metal pieces from barns, buildings, or construction sites can get thrown up to 75 yards, turning into deadly flying bullets for workers and anyone nearby. Watching the video, we don't just see things getting swept away. We feel how fragile people are against a power that's invisible, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. Safety experts keep warning that metal caught in the wind is one of the deadliest dangers in a tornado. Because it flies fast, it's heavy, and there's no set path. Even a small piece can punch through walls, glass, or even a person's body. When you watch those images, the feeling isn't just curiosity anymore. It's a quiet unease, like any of us could be right there at the wrong time. Putting this scene next to the warning in Revelation 16:21, the Bible seems to ring like a bell, and huge hailstones, about the weight of a talent each, came down from heaven on people, and people cursed God because of the plague of the hail, since its plague was extremely severe. Metal isn't hail, but when it falls from high up with terrible wind force, it carries the same meaning, objects dropping from the sky, beyond human control. Luke 21:25 goes on with that warning picture, talking about signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, distress among nations in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. What happened at that Texas site might be called extreme weather, but the confusion and worry it puts in viewers' hearts feels very real, very close, and hard to ignore. Some say it's just a dangerous coincidence of nature, the result of harsher climate these days. But when those metal sheets get lifted and thrown with scary accuracy, a quiet question comes up. Is it all random, or a warning sent in the language of wind? In that light, the message gets clearer than ever. God is using this invisible power to remind folks to stay alert. And if wind can turn a construction site into a battlefield in just seconds, what'll happen when it hits high bridges, where heavy trucks weighing dozens of tons become like toys in front of the fierce storm waiting ahead? 3. Trucks blown over on the highway bridge. Traffic was moving along just fine when everything suddenly went haywire. On a highway bridge in Wyoming, the wind started howling like a siren, and in just a few seconds, those big semi-trucks weighing tons got tipped sideways and crashed down onto the road. The interstate turned into a total mess, with horns blaring over each other and metal screeching in the chaos. Can you even imagine that helpless feeling when a gust of wind can stop traffic cold and change people's lives in an instant? According to AccuWeather and Fox News, bridges like the ones in Wyoming or the Richmond-San Rafael in California are known hotspots for strong winds. But this time, the gusts hit up to 83 miles per hour, strong enough to flip over long trucks and cause backups for miles. Dozens of vehicles got stuck, drivers couldn't move forward or back, and they just had to sit there, scared, waiting it out. In the video that was recorded, it all happens so fast, it's breathtaking. A container truck leans way over to one side, wheels lifting off the pavement, with the sound of metal crashing echoing everywhere. People seem so small and powerless against that roaring wind, like some invisible force is testing how much they can take. Psalm 107:25 comes to mind as a familiar reminder. For he commandeth, and raiseth the stormy wind, which lifteth up the waves thereof. The Bible doesn't get into the technical details, but it points to something deeper. There are powers beyond what humans can control, forces that science can measure, but not tame. The damage added up quick. Lots of trucks badly wrecked, traffic shut down for hours, the economy disrupted. And if things had dragged on just a bit longer, the harm to people could have been a whole lot worse. In that moment, the everyday order of modern life, roads, engines, schedules, suddenly felt awfully fragile. Matthew 24-29 paints an even bigger picture. The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. It's not meant as blame, but as a gentle nudge. When things get shaken up like this, it makes us stop and think about what we really put our trust in. Of course, folks started arguing right away. Some say the bridge design isn't good enough, or the wind warnings weren't strong enough. But if it's just about engineering, why do these unusual, intense winds keep hitting key routes like this? What do you think? Is it simply human error, or something bigger trying to get our attention? This event drives home a hard truth. We're more fragile than we like to admit when facing nature, or some unseen power. And when wind can toss trucks around like toys, the question isn't just when will they fix the bridge, but are we ready? Because from these fierce gusts, sometimes all it takes is one flash of lightning, and everything moves into a whole new chapter. 4. Lightning sparks fire in the storm. A flash of light ripped across the sky, and then flames shot up right in front of someone's eyes. In California, a resident was filming a big dark storm rolling in when lightning suddenly hit, sending sparks flying everywhere and scaring them enough to rush back inside the house. No warning siren, no time to get ready, just one quick moment, and the line between safety and disaster was gone. The storm didn't come in easy. Clouds hung low, wind howled in gusts, and thunder boomed like cannon fire. Lightning struck the ground, sparks scattered all over, smoke got blown back up into the air, leaving the whole area in a state of terror. What would you do if you were facing fire from the sky like that, knowing that just a second too slow could end everything? According to CalMatters and SF Gate, California saw more than 4,500 lightning strikes in recent storms, with many directly starting wildfires that burned thousands of acres on the West Coast. Those dry forests turn into perfect fuel, and each bolt isn't just a flash anymore. It's the start of a spreading disaster. Ezekiel 13:13 comes across as a strong warning. In my wrath I will unleash a violent wind, and in my anger hailstones and torrents of rain will fall with destructive fury. The words from the Bible don't feel like some distant metaphor anymore. They sound like a direct call-out. When storms and fire from heaven pour down together, it's not just weather. It's revealing the consequences of a world that's gone too far. Things kept getting worse. Flames caught on the trees, smoke covered the sky, wind carried ashes miles away. What started with one single bolt quickly turned into a chain reaction where people could only run and had no way to stop it. Luke 21:11 makes it even heavier. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. This isn't meant to comfort. It's a stark judgment. Those signs from the sky aren't there to spark curiosity, but to make humanity face its own accountability. Of course, arguments broke out right away. Science talks about electrical charges, atmospheric friction, harsh weather cycles. But when lightning strikes keep surging, when fire from the sky keeps leading to wildfires and panic, is it all just random? What do you think? Is this a natural coincidence or a direct challenge to the way people live and the choices they make? The final message rings out like an alarm bell. Lightning doesn't just burn trees. It's like God's finger pointing straight at human sin and pride. And if fire from above is enough to scare a whole state, just think, what'll happen when the endless rains come pouring down afterward? Because somewhere out there, in the mud and floods, a stray dog is struggling to survive. setting up a story that's even more heartbreaking. 5. A stray dog hides under a statue of Jesus to escape disaster. In the steady drizzle at a small church in Orlando, Florida, the scene was quiet and peaceful in a strange way. Under the statue of Jesus standing still in the yard, a skinny stray dog quietly slipped into the base, curled up, and went to sleep. In that moment, we didn't just see an animal avoiding the rain. It was a picture that touched the heart, made it soften, like something truly sacred was happening. The rain wasn't heavy, but it kept coming. The wind was cold, and the dog was shivering from being soaked. It didn't bark or run around. It just quietly nestled under the shadow of the stone statue, the only dry and calm spot. It felt like the dog had picked the right place, as if instinct guided it to somewhere that could offer a bit of warmth in a troubled world out there. During big storms, many wild animals seek shelter near churches, monasteries, or religious buildings. To some folks, that's just coincidence, but others see it as a quiet symbol of protection, a place of refuge beyond the material things. The image of the dog lying under the statue of Jesus brings to mind Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Those Bible words seem to explain that moment, that in times of hardship, every living creature seeks a safe place, whether human or a small, speechless animal. The scene kept unfolding slowly. The rain still fell. The statue stood motionless, and the dog slept deeper, its breathing steady. No dramatic miracle, no blinding light, just a gentle, real peace that moved anyone who saw it. A strange warmth spread from that silence. Of course, people argue about it. Some say it's just instinct, a dog finding shelter like anywhere else. But others wonder, if it was just about avoiding rain, why did it choose right under the statue of Jesus when there were other dry spots around? What do you think? Is it random or a subtle sign we often miss? Matthew 6:26 comes to mind as a gentle reminder. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. If God cares for the birds of the sky, then the protection for a stray dog is probably part of that same love. In the end, this picture leaves a quiet but deep message. God watches over even the smallest creatures, reminding us that faith isn't just in words, but in turning back, in finding refuge when needed. And when that stray dog found shelter under the statue of Jesus, it makes you wonder, what about us? Because somewhere else, over the skies of Oklahoma, a huge flock of birds is gathering in an unusual way, as if they know something coming that people haven't noticed yet. 6. A massive flock of birds forms over Oklahoma under a chemtrailed sky. The sky over Oklahoma suddenly looked different. No thunder, no rain, but a strange feeling spread as tiny black dots started moving, then merged into a huge flowing mass up above. A flock of birds showed up out of nowhere, swirling like a living thing, making folks who saw it feel like nature was whispering something urgent, something hard to put into words. In just minutes, the sky was covered by millions of them. Migrating flocks joined into one unusually big group, stretching for miles, wings beating hard like crashing waves. They say up to 2.9 million birds flew through at the same time, way more than a normal migration season. The air felt heavy, light got chopped up, and there we were down below, suddenly realizing how small we are compared to some invisible order working overhead. Experts say it's a seasonal migration thing, tied to air pressure, high-altitude winds, and signs of extreme weather coming. Birds can sense changes in Earth's magnetic field and spot big storms before our gadgets do. But even with those scientific explanations, the uneasy feeling doesn't go away, because the size and timing of this flock seem to go beyond any patterns we've known before. Right then, the Bible comes to mind more as a hint than a final answer. In Matthew 24-28, it says, "Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather." Not talking about birds in a biology way, but as a picture for gathering before a big event, when the old order is about to be exposed. And in Luke 21:25, the warning goes on, There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity. Signs in the sky. Could this be one of them? A lot of people push back, saying linking the Bible to a natural event is just reading too much into it. Birds have been migrating for thousands of years, and the sky has been blocked like this before. But if it's just a natural cycle, why are these things happening more often now? At the same time as disasters, storms, fires from the sky, and chaos everywhere. Do you think it's just coincidence? Or a pattern repeating, just like what's been warned about for so long? As the flock slowly faded toward the horizon, the sky got quiet again in a suspicious way. But that quiet didn't bring peace. It felt like the pause before a new chapter. If animals can sense and react to what's coming, what are we humans, with our reason and faith, doing about it? And if the sky has already spoken with millions of wings, what message is that upcoming rainbow cascade in Yosemite going to hide next? 7. The waterfall suddenly turns into a rainbow at Yosemite National Park. The sky over Yosemite opens up with a moment that leaves you speechless. Between the huge rock walls and the waterfall dropping from over 2,400 feet, the sunlight suddenly bends the water into a giant rainbow hanging in the air. Standing there in front of it, it's hard not to feel overwhelmed, like nature just lifted a secret curtain to remind us there are still things way beyond what we can figure out or explain. The water sprays up hard from strong winds, and every tiny drop turns into a little prism, breaking the sunlight into bright bands of color. The whole place feels like it's covered in something magical, gentle yet solemn at the same time. A lot of folks just stand there quietly, not saying a word, because that kind of beauty doesn't just look good. It stirs up a deep, holy feeling that's tough to put into words, almost like a message coming down from above. In the Bible, a rainbow has never been just some weather thing. Genesis 9:13 has God saying, "I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." It's a mark of his promise of protection after the flood. Then in Revelation 10:1, it shows up again. "Then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven. He was robed in a cloud with a rainbow above his head." So the rainbow stands for grace and also a sign of big revelations to come. Scientists explain it with optics. Winds around 50 miles an hour blow the waterfall mist up into the air, and sunlight hits it at just the right angle to make a rainbow. It's a perfect mix of water, wind, and light, a precise thing nature does. But when you put that explanation next to how the Bible sees the rainbow as a sign of covenant and something from heaven, the two views split into very different paths. One side says it's just physics, pretty, but meaningless. The other sees the timing of this beauty as no accident, especially when the world is full of disasters, storms, and chaos. If it's only natural, why does it keep showing up right in the middle of all these troubling signs? And if it's a reminder from God, are we taking it as comfort or as a warning? The rainbow over the Yosemite waterfall brings hope, but it also leaves you with some uneasy thoughts. It reminds us God promised to protect, but it doesn't hide the warnings he's given long ago. This beauty doesn't wipe away the darkness that's coming. It lights things up so we can take a good look at ourselves. As the rainbow fades with the wind, the waterfall goes back to roaring like before. And if we can watch something so breathtaking and still miss the message behind it, what will happen when nature isn't so gentle anymore? Because right after this beauty, a car getting swept away by floodwaters shows the harsh side of these signs we can't ignore. 8. The car that ignored the floodwaters and got swept away. It all started with a familiar kind of overconfidence on a stretch of highway in Sonoma County. The rain had just stopped. The floodwater was only up to the wheels, and the driver figured they still had things under control. We've seen that moment way too many times. A short pause, a step on the gas, and the thought that, "I'll be fine." But that little bit of confidence can lead to real tragedy. In a split second, the water changed color and picked up speed. Muddy runoff from upstream suddenly rose higher, pressed against the car, and yanked it hard like an invisible hand. The vehicle swayed. The tires lost traction. The engine roared one last time before it died. That heavy chunk of metal, tons of it, got pushed along like a dry leaf, spinning sideways, banging into barriers, then vanishing into the rushing current. This is the kind of thing that should make every one of us stop and think. Natural disasters don't bargain, and floodwater is never as harmless as it looks. Scenes like this keep happening in different places, even with all the warning signs we're used to seeing. Some folks say the accident was just the driver being careless, misjudging how deep the water was. But the debate heats up when witnesses insist the water level shot up unusually fast in just a few dozen seconds, too quick to react. So is the blame all on people? Or is there something bigger at play that we can't fully predict? The Bible comes in here not to comfort, but as a straightforward call-out on human pride. In Psalm 69-15, there's this cry for help. Do not let the floodwaters engulf me, or the depths swallow me up, or the pit close its mouth over me. It's not just a plea. It's a picture of what it's like facing power we can't control. And in Luke 21:11, the warning goes on. There will be great earthquakes and fearful events. Floods aren't just weather anymore. They're a reminder of how fragile our pride really is. The car disappeared under the water, leaving behind an empty, chilling space and some late regrets. This wasn't just a traffic mishap. It was a serious wake-up call that God has warned us, nature has warned us, but people still choose to ignore it. And if one lone car got swallowed up that easily, then when the massive flood hits Oxford, what else will that water monster carry away? 9. Close-up view of the rushing floodwaters in Oxford, America. Oxford, Mississippi, is going through a heavy, breathless moment. It's no longer just puddles along the roadside. The flood comes like a powerful force waking up, muddy and cold, rushing over the pavement so fast you barely have time to think. Right from the start, it's not panic you feel, but a quiet pressure, like something more serious is happening right in front of you. The water starts roaring as it rises minute by minute. Trees get uprooted, trash and debris swirl around, crashing into each other in a fierce current. Familiar roads turn into angry rivers, with white foam slamming against the curbs. The signs, everything still standing. Watching it, you quickly realize that one wrong step could lead to something you can't undo. In the middle of all that chaos, the Bible rings out like a calm but stern judgment, not pointing fingers at any one person, but looking at a whole system that's starting to shake. In Amos 9-5, it says, "The Lord God of hosts is he that toucheth the land, and it shall melt, and all that dwell therein shall mourn, and it shall rise up wholly like a flood, and shall be drowned as by the flood of Egypt." The picture of the land melting and water rising isn't just poetry, it's exactly what's playing out here. And in Luke 21:25, the warning goes on. "And upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring." This flood isn't just some isolated event, it's part of a bigger picture. Some say it's all from days of heavy rain and overloaded drainage systems. But when you see the strength of the flow, how fast the water rises, and how deep it gets, questions come up. Are the weather reports enough to explain this widespread uneasy feeling? You can call it extreme weather, but that sense of being out of control is very real and very clear. The damage reports keep climbing fast. Many roads are underwater several feet deep. Vehicles get stuck. Neighborhoods have to evacuate right away. Local authorities send out constant alerts, telling folks to stay away from fast-moving water and get ready for the worst if the levees can't hold. Those calls aren't over the top. They're a direct response to a threat that's building every minute. The water keeps rushing through Oxford, not caring about houses or streets, reminding us that this kind of power isn't something you can bargain with. It's a clear warning. When nature goes beyond its limits, people are left with a choice between staying alert or paying the price. And if a flood outside is already pushing the whole town to its limit, then when water pours into the shopping mall, places we thought were safe, what will we have left to hold on to? 10. Heavy flooding at the shopping mall. The King of Prussia Mall in Pennsylvania suddenly turned into a shocking sight. Muddy water poured through the entrances, spreading fast over the shiny tile floors that used to sparkle, turning the busy shopping center into a cold, muddy mess. In the middle of all that shock, a natural question comes up. When places we thought were symbols of safety and plenty fall apart, what do we have left to hold on to? The water rose waist-high, escalators were completely underwater, and glass doors reflected blurry emergency lights. Rescue teams waded through the wrecked stores, helping people out one by one amid the constant sound of rushing water. In some spots, hundreds of folks got trapped at the same time, and hundreds of lives were saved during those tense hours. Lives were spared, but the feeling of loss hung over everything. The damage was quickly added up. Big malls like King of Prussia and Elkview got hit hard with deep flooding, shutting down completely, ruining merchandise, and breaking infrastructure. Over 500 people had to be evacuated in a hurry, and many nearby areas felt the ripple effects from wave after wave of floods. Those numbers aren't just about money. They're about how fragile the things we've worked so hard to build really are. In that picture, the Bible shows up like a final judgment, calm and straightforward. In Revelation 16:18, it says, "There were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake such as there had not been since man was on the earth." So great was that earthquake. These images of total shaking aren't just about the ground. They're about the foundations of our material world getting shaken to the core. Not long after, another warning rings out in Matthew 24:7-8. "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains." When shopping grinds to a halt and supply chains break, these birth pains aren't abstract anymore. They're right in the middle of everyday life. Of course, there's plenty of debate about the causes. Some say heavy urbanization, all that concrete, and overloaded drainage systems are the root of the problem. Others look at how widespread it is across the country and wonder about a deeper meaning behind this string of events. No need to pick sides. The thing we're thinking about is, what do you see when similar things keep happening in different places? In the end, when shopping malls, those symbols of buying and comfort, end up underwater, a quiet message comes through. The material world, no matter how solid it seems, can fall apart in an instant. And if this is just the beginning, the question isn't what's going to happen next, but are you ready for whatever comes after? So we've just gone through 10 events showing that America is more chaotic than we thought. Which moment made you realize that the clearest? Feel free to share your answer in the comments below. 10 events have passed by like 10 deep marks carved into the land of America. From the freezing cold in Illinois to the floods in California. From roads torn apart to shopping centers sunk in muddy water. When you put them side by side, they're no longer just scattered news stories. They form one clear picture where nature keeps shaking things as if it's knocking hard on humanity's last door. These marks don't shout loudly, but they're deep enough to make folks stop and think. Some people call it coincidence, weather cycles, or the result of climate change. But others see a different message, one that's quiet but serious. In Amos 3-6, the Bible asks, "When the trumpet sounds in a city, do the people not tremble? When disaster comes to a city, has not the Lord caused it?" Those words aren't meant to scare anyone. They're there to make us ask ourselves about the connection between what we do and what's happening around us. From that point of view, natural disasters aren't just random events anymore. They become a call to turn back to God, a reminder that human power has limits and everything we build can crumble so easily. Luke 21:28 says, "When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." Right in the middle of the warning, there's still a ray of hope. Waking up isn't about despair. it's about turning around. What's asked of us isn't panic, it's staying alert. Alert enough to listen, to think carefully, and not to brush off signs that keep coming back stronger. Matthew 24-42 reminds us, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." The deep pit, if it's opening, isn't just in nature. It's also inside people's hearts, where faith has been forgotten for too long. If these recent events have left you wondering, let that wondering turn into a prayer or an honest thought. Feel free to write in the comments below what you're feeling, a request for help from above, or just a question that doesn't have an answer yet. That's one way to not stay silent about what's going on, and to keep your heart from growing hard toward the warnings. If you think these messages are worth thinking about, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Every share can be a gentle reminder for someone else, and every subscription is a small step towards staying awake together. Thank you for listening all the way to the end, and may the Lord keep and guide you through these unsettled days. Amen.
Jesus Christ! That is huge! That is... Oh my God! Look at this run!
Кто идет куда-то? Ёбана. А.
Мне просто трындец. Куда вот это поехали?
Твою мать, что за на...
Have you ever wondered, if the world suddenly changed colors tomorrow, would that just be random chance? When the ground shakes, the sky tears open, oceans roar, and fire rises from deep in the earth, people start feeling an unease that's hard to put into words. Like time is closing in, and the future is slipping into chaos. What we're seeing these days isn't just scattered events anymore. It's a string of big changes hitting one after another, getting stronger each time, making the world feel like it's right on the edge of falling apart. From a blood-red whirlwind ripping through the desert, huge ice breaking off in Antarctica, strange lines splitting the sky, old lava coming back to life, Yellowstone acting up, oceans throwing up tall waterspouts, green auroras lighting up Texas, bright glowing balls hanging low near the ground, fire swallowing rivers, and clouds twisting like cocoons in the sky. 10 events, 10 whispers from above, all happening at once, loud and unrelenting. The Bible warned long ago, before the Lord returns, heaven and earth will shake. And now, those signs seem clearer than ever. What do you think when you look at all this? Is it just nature's cruel joke, or the last wake-up call for folks who've been sleeping through it? Come on, stop for a minute and join me as we dig into the real story behind these shocking things happening lately. You'll see the truth once the curtain gets pulled back. No more waiting, I'll get started right now with 1. A strange red whirlwind appears in the red desert. If there's one moment that can make your stomach drop just from watching a screen, it's the second that red swirl shows up. In the video shot out in the wide open desert, a huge column of dark red, almost blood-like color, suddenly shoots straight up into the sky, ripping through the quiet of the Arizona desert. No narration needed. The pictures alone leave you stunned, because it's clear right away, something feels off, and we're watching something way out of the ordinary. The Arizona desert is known for its red dirt stretching thousands of square miles, where weather experts have seen dust whirls before because of the rocky ground and harsh heat. But in this video, it's no little puff of dust. It rises hundreds of feet high, spinning wildly, sucking up all the red dirt below and turning the clear blue sky into a gloomy red haze. Facing a sight like that, it's not just scary, it's this heavy, unseen pressure, like nature is clamping down on everything underneath. The whirlwind moves slow but with real power, winds hitting around 50 miles per hour, strong enough to toss sand and rocks around and send wild animals running in panic. From the video, you really feel how helpless people are against that kind of force, something deep and instinctive. It doesn't look like a regular storm, more like a giant hand stirring up the earth, painting the whole area red, leaving you thinking the desert isn't dead anymore. It's waking up in a threatening way. Scientists were quick to explain, it's just a dust devil, the kind of dust whirl common in deserts when hot air rises fast. The red color comes from iron-rich soil getting pulled up high, mixing with sunlight to create that scary visual effect. It sounds reasonable, and scientifically, it's correct. But looking at the actual footage, a lot of folks still get chills from how big and unusual it looks, making it feel more like a warning sign than a simple weather event. In the Bible, Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven, and big earthquakes, famines, and plagues in many places." Seeing this blood-red whirlwind, it's hard not to think of those great signs from heaven mentioned as warnings. Revelation 6:12 describes a chilling scene too. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood. The red covering the desert sky in the video seems to echo that image. Not as judgment, but as a cold reminder. Science might still call it a dust devil, but the feeling it leaves isn't ordinary at all. It's like an early signal, a haunting little touch, reminding us that nature is shifting its familiar rhythm. And if this red whirlwind in Arizona is just the start, then farther away, in colder places where massive ice sheets are quietly moving under Antarctica, what's really waiting for humanity ahead? 2. A massive chunk of ice suddenly pops up to the surface. News from the far end of the Earth just shared a picture that left scientists and everyone else stunned. A sharp crack rang out like thunder under the ocean, and right after that, a huge block of ice shot up out of the water, standing tall like a skyscraper and shaking the whole Antarctic Sea around it. It wasn't a storm or an earthquake, it was ice. The quietest thing you can imagine, creating a moment so intense it took your breath away. This happened at the Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica, an area bigger than 74,000 square miles that's called the Doomsday Glacier. For years, scientists have been watching it closely because of how fast it's melting. But what the camera caught this time was beyond anything they expected. The ice broke off and then flipped up out of the water, hundreds of feet high and weighing millions of tons, sending big waves across the sea and shocks that felt like an underwater explosion. The sound was described like a bomb going off, echoing through the white emptiness. Research ships nearby rocked back and forth, and the water churned with huge waves from the ice block. In that moment, watching the video, you're not just seeing a natural event, you're feeling the real weight of the Earth as it shifts, slow but unstoppable. Scientists quickly gave a straightforward explanation. This is calving, where ice breaks away from the glacier because of rising global temperatures. National Geographic and other research groups say warmer ocean water has weakened the ice structure from below, making big collapses like this unavoidable. The numbers, data, and climate models all back this up, turning the event into big news about climate change rather than something mysterious. But when you put that image next to words written thousands of years ago, it feels different. Matthew 24:7 warned, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places." These powerful changes in nature, from land to ocean, seem to be happening all at once. Joel 2:30 also says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke," like a warning about the familiar order turning upside down. Debate broke out fast. One side sees it as the clear result of human-caused climate change. The other senses something bigger and deeper going on behind that cold ice. What do you think? When the planet's biggest ice blocks can't stay put anymore, should we see this as a scientific wake-up call or a warning that goes beyond the numbers? No matter how you look at it, the truth is, Thwaites is changing, and with it, sea levels, the climate, and the future for millions of people. That ice popping up is like a strong knock on the door, waking the world from its complacency. And if melting ice is just the first whisper from the frozen poles, then when we look up at the sky, is that strange streak about to appear the blade cutting through humanity's fate? 3. A strange line splitting the sky. The photo spread like wildfire. The Texas sky suddenly sliced by a straight, cold, sharp line that was almost too perfect to believe. No explosion, no shaking, just a streak stretching for miles, hanging in the air like a cut from an invisible knife. Your eyes get locked on it, but your mind lags behind, because nobody's sure what they're seeing, and even less where it came from. In the video, the light stays calm. Clouds drift along, wind blows gently, but that dividing line stays oddly still. A peaceful sky with blue backdrop, white clouds, golden sunshine, suddenly has this weird boundary crashing into the usual order. The unease doesn't come from anything wild. It's from how precise and chilling it is, like someone just drew a line right across the open space. When the footage is slowed down, the quiet becomes the scariest part. No swirling, no breaking, no fading. That straight line hangs there like a mark put there on purpose, not some random thing. That's the moment a lot of folks start thinking back to old warnings written down long ago. Luke 21:25 put it this way: "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And on the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity, not from nature roaring loud, but from the familiar order suddenly getting marked." On a deeper level, Revelation 8:12 gets brought up again as a chilling explanation. A third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. It doesn't take total darkness, just one clear boundary showing up to make people realize the light isn't as whole as it used to be. Weather experts later offered a different take. To them, this could be a kind of horizontal bright arc formed when sunlight bends through ice crystals in high clouds. A rare thing, but still within what atmospheric science can explain. Their reports talk about exact temperature, humidity, and sunlight angles needed to create such a near-perfect bright line. Two explanations sit side by side. One, cold and scientific with physics formulas. The other, haunting with prophetic words. One talks about ice crystals and light bending. The other about signs and warnings from above. The video's still there, plain and unchanged. And that simple existence forces each person to decide what it means to them. If one line drawn across the sky is enough to shake up what feels normal, then what happens when the ground itself stops staying quiet? When lava rises from places thought long asleep, how much time do people have left to turn things around? 4. The lava has stopped solidifying and is now melting into a flow. It's no longer just a guess, no longer some vague sign. The stream of fire that folks thought had gone cold has suddenly come back to life, glowing red and moving along, like the earth just woke up after a long sleep. The videos from Hawaii leave people stunned, because what's pouring out isn't just molten rock, it's a warning we can't ignore, and we're all standing way too close to it. At Kilauea, one of the most active volcanoes on the planet, rock that seemed solid has suddenly softened, cracked open, and started flowing for miles. Temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit make the ground split, rocks warp, and the air thick with smoke and heat. That red glow doesn't stay put. It moves forward bit by bit, swallowing up plants, getting close to homes, making it feel like nothing can move fast enough to get away. Geologists quickly sent out emergency alerts. Data from monitoring stations showed pressure building unusually in the magma chamber, cracks widening faster than expected. Local authorities had to start evacuation plans, close the national park, and tell people to leave the danger zone as soon as possible. Maps covered in red warnings filled the screens, and now nobody dares call it some far-off scenario. In that heavy atmosphere, the Bible rings out like a big bell, louder than any news report. Joel 2:30 once warned, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke." Fire doesn't just show up to destroy, it's there to wake us up, to make us face the results of being stubborn for so long. It doesn't stop there. Revelation 16:18 adds to the unease. There were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake such as there had not been since man came to be upon the earth. So great was that earthquake. When fire rises from deep in the ground, it's not just normal earth movement anymore. It's a shakeup of the world we're used to. Of course, there are still voices pushing back. Some experts say this is just a natural cycle of magma activity, the inevitable result of Hawaii's geology. But the question is, why is it happening more often, getting stronger, and affecting a wider area? When science gives numbers and the Bible gives meaning, where will you put your trust? This fire isn't just burning rock, it's testing how awake we are as people. If this is just one hot spot, what will happen when other supervolcanoes start stirring? And if Yellowstone really wakes up, would that be the trumpet sound signaling the end that the Bible talked about thousands of years ago? 5. Yellowstone Park suddenly blew up out of the ground. A big boom echoed through an area that had always seemed steady, and in just a few seconds, the familiar calm of Yellowstone was ripped apart. The ground swelled up and then burst open, sending steam, mud, and rocks shooting straight into the sky like a bomb going off deep underground. It was no longer just a peaceful tourist spot. This place turned into the center of raw fear, and we all know this isn't something to brush off lightly. At Biscuit Basin, the hydrothermal area famous for its hot springs, pressure had been building quietly for a long time until it finally broke through. A huge column shot up hundreds of feet, dragging along broken earth, boiling water, and thick, hot steam. Visitors panicked and ran for safety. Boardwalks were shut down fast, and many parts were completely destroyed in an instant. Early reports showed the damage spread dozens of yards, enough to turn a popular viewpoint into a high-danger zone. Scientists jumped in right away. Reports from the U.S. National Park Service say it came from water suddenly turning to steam when underground water got heated fast and expanded in a flash. With no way out, the pressure took the most violent path to release. This kind of hydrothermal explosion is rare, but it's happened before in Yellowstone's history. Still, even the most experienced experts admit the power this time was way beyond normal. Amid all the dry scientific explanations, the Bible comes across like a strong warning to everyone. Matthew 24:7 put it plainly long ago. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. When the earth shakes and bursts open on its own, it's not just rocks shifting. It's a reminder that the world is drifting from its original order. Luke 21:11 digs even deeper into that unease. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places, famines and pestilences. And there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. It doesn't take the whole planet collapsing in one day. Just these hot spots speaking up one by one to make the bigger picture clear. Of course, there's debate. Some folks say it's just a natural reaction in a complicated hydrothermal system, and we shouldn't tie it to anything spiritual. But plenty of others wonder, why are explosions like this happening more often, getting stronger, right when the world already feels so fragile? Between science and faith, where do you stand? The ground just spoke up, and the message wasn't gentle at all. If this was only a wake-up jolt, what happens when the oceans start swirling and rising? Those waterspouts at sea, the kind that look like a rope linking heaven and hell, maybe they're waiting right ahead. 6. A strange, thin, twisting funnel over the sea. The ocean off St. Lucia wasn't roaring. The waves rose and fell gently. The wind wasn't fierce, and the sky just darkened like it was holding its breath. Right in that unusual calm, a long, slender thread appeared, hanging between the sea and the clouds, pale like faded gold. It didn't spin wildly or rush anywhere. It just stayed there, making you feel like you were seeing something that shouldn't be real. In the video, that twisting line stretched thousands of feet, so thin it seemed like it could vanish if light touched it. Dark clouds gathered above, and the water below rippled faintly in a vague circle, as if some invisible hand was holding both ends tight. What was scary wasn't the power, but how still it stayed for so long. a state completely against the usual ways of the sea and sky. We all sense that wrongness right from the first moment. The colors weren't bold, but strange enough to unsettle you. Not gray, not black, not blue, but a pale yellow mixed with ash, giving the whole scene an unreal feel. As time passed in the video, that twisting line didn't change shape or break. It was like wind or gravity had no effect on it. That quiet stillness gave people chills more than any storm ever could. When you put that image next to the words in Luke 21:25, the meaning opens up in a different way. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. It doesn't take a raging ocean, just the normal order bending a little to stir up unease in people's hearts. Another part in Joel 2:30 sounds like a quiet hint more than a threat. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. To many folks, that hanging twist in the air looked just like a pillar set up, not to destroy, but to mark something. Of course, weather experts see it differently. They call it a type of water spout that forms in steady conditions, a rare structure, but still within science. Still, what sparks debate is how long it lasted and how almost perfectly still it was, something many experts admit is hard to fully explain. So, between a science-based answer and the feeling that some message is being sent, which side do you lean toward? The sea doesn't speak our language, but it knows how to get noticed. If one quiet, slender thread can shake up the familiar order, what might happen if the sky over the land suddenly lights up with a glow that doesn't belong there? Green auroras showing up in Texas might not feel so far off anymore. 7. The strange green aurora sky over Texas. The night sky in Texas suddenly looked different in a way that's hard to describe. No thunder, no storm, just a thin layer of greenish light like a mist spreading over the darkness. Quiet, but captivating. In the videos going around, that green color didn't flash quickly. It moved slowly and softly, making you feel like you were standing in front of an invisible door that just cracked open. As the night got deeper, the light started shifting into wavy bands, sometimes stronger, sometimes fainter, mixed with faint magenta shades. It wasn't bright like fireworks, but had a mysterious feel, like light that didn't belong here. Houses, fields, and roads were covered in a green glow never seen before at low latitudes like Texas. And in that moment, it was hard to believe this was just the ordinary sky we'd always known. On a deeper level, many folks turn to the Bible as a way to make sense of it. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven and major earthquakes, along with famines and plagues in many places." Light isn't just for shining, it's for signaling, for waking people up when everything seems calm. Revelation 8:12 adds another layer, heavier and more serious. The fourth angel blew his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. When light shows up where it doesn't belong, many believe it's not a gift of peace, but a sign that a big change is coming soon. From the science side, experts aren't staying quiet. They explain these glowing bands likely come from a strong geomagnetic storm, where charged particles hit the atmosphere and make it glow. In rare cases, the northern lights can reach down to lower latitudes than usual. Satellite data and magnetic field charts back this up. It's an event we can measure and predict. The two views sit side by side, one with numbers, models, and sun cycles, the other with ancient words about strange signs in the sky. One answers how, the other asks why. Standing between them, what feels more convincing to you? A natural coincidence, or a message sent right when people need to wake up? That green light didn't hurt anyone, but it stirred up faith in its own way. For many, it's a reminder that heaven isn't silent, that even in the dark, there are signs meant to make us look up and think. And if the sky has spoken in colors, what happens when the ground starts answering with shapes, not from this world. Those glowing orbs showing up near train tracks might just be waiting their turn to be explained. 8. A strange glowing orb hovering close to the ground near train tracks. In broad daylight, when sunlight should make everything feel safe and normal, something shows up that just shouldn't be there, clear as day and kind of scary. A gray sky hangs over an empty stretch of railroad tracks, no sun, no sharp shadows, and right in that gloomy scene, a glowing orb floats just above the ground. The video of it keeps you glued to the screen, because daylight doesn't let you mistake it for tricks of the dark, and we all know this thing can't be brushed off as some illusion. The orb has a pale blue glow with a white edge, about the size of a basketball, hanging only a foot or so off the ground. It doesn't drop or bump into anything. It drifts slowly along the tracks, sometimes pausing like it's looking around. Thin sparks flash out and vanish quick, enough to make the air hum a little. No rain, no thunder, no lightning rod nearby, but that light stays there, steady and like it means business, making you feel uneasy right away. The video goes on to show movements that are hard to explain. The glowing thing doesn't follow the wind or react to the land. It suddenly changes direction, gets close to the metal rails, then pulls back, as if drawn by some invisible force. A lot of folks point out a chilling detail. This spot has seen terrible train accidents before, and ever since, strange lights showing up has been a topic people can't stop talking about. When you put this next to the words in Revelation 16:18, the tone gets heavy, like a serious warning. There will be flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake, such as has not occurred since people have been on earth. So mighty an earthquake was it. The light with those sparks isn't just some physical thing. It's like a reminder that judgment doesn't always come with sudden collapse. Luke 21:11 adds more weight to what we're used to thinking. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. A great sign doesn't have to cover the whole sky. Sometimes just one light in the wrong place at the wrong time is enough to make us face how fragile life really is. Of course, science has another take. Some researchers call this a rare natural plasma, often known as ball lightning, which can form near railroads because of strong electric fields and metal conductors. But even the experts admit, this phenomenon hasn't been reliably recreated in a lab, and the way it moves like it has a purpose is still a big question mark. On one side is an incomplete physical model, and on the other is the feeling that this thing carries a message. Which explanation do you buy? Daylight doesn't hide what's out of place, and that light didn't show up to guide the way, but to remind us. When even a small glowing spot can unsettle people so much, what will happen when lava from a volcano hits flowing water? If molten rock meets a river, will the line between earth and hell hold anymore? 9. A river of molten lava flowing over the surface of a stream. The glowing red lava suddenly poured down, rushing straight into the deep blue water like an unexpected burst of fury. In just a moment, the ground shook. The heat hit like a wall you couldn't breathe through, and anyone watching saw a fierce sight they weren't ready for. Fire and water crashed together, like two opposite forces, starting a final showdown. At Hawaii Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island, the lava flow from Kilauea's vent stretched for miles, winding through wetlands before dumping right into the riverbed. Steam shot up in huge columns, white and swirling, with cracking sounds like thousands of rocks breaking. The whole scene was overwhelming, water boiling hard, white foam splashing everywhere, and the lava glowing dark red like blood running. Everything happened fast and intense, not giving anyone a chance to catch their breath. You feel scared and stunned all at once, like nature is shouting a warning you can't ignore. What would you think if you saw fire swallowing water like that, with the water just hissing in despair? In the middle of it all, the Bible comes to mind like an old warning. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke." The images of fire, smoke, and fierce heat right there make many folks shiver. as if that prophecy is coming alive today. It doesn't stop there. Matthew 24:7 goes on like an urgent alarm. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Fire rising from deep in the earth, water getting stirred up. It all mixes into a chaotic picture that makes you wonder, is this just chance? Scientists and geologists from the USGS explain it's normal volcano activity. When lava meets water, it creates a steam plume, a physical process seen many times before. But for a lot of people, the mix of river and fire, life and destruction, carries a deeper meaning than science can fully explain. Because no matter what you call it, that sight still reminds us of the awful power of creation and how fragile we are against fire from deep underground. It might be a warning that hellfire isn't just a metaphor. It could burst out right in front of humanity one day. And as the steam column slowly fades over the Hawaiian sky, people notice the clouds twisting like a giant cocoon. Could that be the final sign from above, hinting at something even more terrifying waiting ahead? 10. A cloud with a strange, twisted shape that looks like a rocky outcrop. That cloud showed up quietly. No thunder, no lightning, no noise at all. It just hung there in the sky over the Rocky Mountains, twisted together like a living rock formation. So still, it was almost scary. When the video got shared, a lot of folks stopped and stared at it for a long time. How about you? Do you feel like something's being warned about? In the frame, the pale blue sky is cut across by a big, pale golden cloud, rolled up tight like a giant silkworm cocoon. It didn't break apart, didn't drift, didn't get torn by the wind like regular clouds do. For hours, that shape barely moved, making people feel like time itself was slowing down, as if nature was holding on to some sacred secret it wasn't ready to let go of yet. When you fast forward the video, the cloud's odd shape stands out even more, the layers twisting over each other like they were placed on purpose. The slanting sunlight made it glow pale gold, beautiful but cold, like a statue hanging in the sky. Plenty of people said it felt like standing in front of a gate where the line between heaven and earth got real thin. In that moment, the Bible comes to mind like a final judgment. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." The cloud didn't have to destroy anything. Just being there was enough to stir unease in people's hearts, just like the verse warned. Then Revelation 8:12 gets brought up again, cold and final. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. The soft light shining on that cloud suddenly didn't feel beautiful anymore. It felt like something covering the light, like brightness slowly being taken away. Of course, the weather experts were quick to explain it. They said it was just a lenticular cloud, or mammatus cloud, formed when strong winds blow over the mountains and create stable, unusual cloud structures. To science, it's rare, but perfectly natural. But the question remains, why did that shape last so long? And why did it appear right when the world feels so unsettled? On one side, there's science with its wind patterns and pressure systems. On the other side, there's the Bible with warnings that have been around for thousands of years. Which way do you lean? Is it just a cloud, or a sign placed there to wake up faith that's been sleeping? For me, that cloud didn't need to tear the sky apart to be an end-time sign. Just standing there, quiet and still, was enough to remind us that the day the Lord returns won't be loud like people expect. And if these 10 signs really are coming together to form a complete picture, then the final question isn't what's going to happen, but are we ready or not? These 10 events haven't just passed by us like random news stories. They've come like warning bells ringing from the sky. From fires swallowing up floods, ice spreading over land, strange lights in the air, to clouds standing still as if held by an invisible hand. All of it adds up to one clear, chilling chain of warnings. It's no longer about asking if it's just coincidence. It's about what we're going to do in the face of these signs. When you look at the whole picture, it's hard not to think of the words written in Luke 21:28. When these things begin to happen, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. These signs aren't just meant to scare us. They're meant to wake us up. They're like lights in the dark night, shining on people's souls that have fallen asleep in a world full of noise but empty when it comes to faith. Some folks say it's only natural disasters, climate change, things science can explain. But the Bible never denied the natural world. On the contrary, in Joel 2:31, the warning rings out clear. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and awesome day of the Lord comes. The issue isn't what these events are, it's the timing and how often they're happening all at once, like words being written fast across the sky. Those 10 signs are like 10 fingers pointing in the same direction. They're not just about judgment, they're about one last chance to turn back. Revelation 3:3 reminds us, "Remember then what you received and heard, keep it and repent." This isn't a threat, it's an urgent call from one who's still patiently waiting for people to wake up. The world today is shaking, not just from earthquakes or wars, but because the foundations of right and wrong are cracking. Faith is being pushed aside, and truth is hidden under hurried living. The end times might not have knocked yet, but it's clearly standing very close. Close enough that everyone has to ask themselves, if today was the last day, am I ready? If these words touch you, leave a prayer down below or a sincere thought from your heart. It's not for the channel, it's for your own soul. And if you don't want to miss the next messages, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe so we can stay alert together in these troubling days. Thanks for sticking around to the very end. I pray for you and your family to have peace, protection, and guidance in the light of the Lord. The world is shaking, and the end times are closer than ever. Are you ready? If the sky tonight suddenly burst into flames, would you call that just random chance or a warning? The world is shaking from signs that are hard to put a name on. Winds howling like trumpets, fires exploding like gates to the abyss. In the Bible, the Lord warned about the last days, Matthew 24:3-14. And now, those signals seem to be coming faster than ever before. From the blazing deserts of Arizona, the cracking forests of the Amazon, mountains in China glowing red, to Donner's summit at 7,000 feet, buried under snow, floods raging, lava tearing mountains apart, wall clouds closing in, pink lightning rumbling. Science says natural disasters have increased 5 times over, but is it really just climate or something supernatural? Today's video will walk through 10 of these events, each one a chilling piece of a bigger picture about the soul, awakening, and salvation. Are you ready to take a closer look? So don't ignore any of the signs, okay? Now, let's pull back the curtain together on the truth hidden behind 10 phenomena that have appeared out in the open and caused a stir these past few days. Let's get started right away with 1. A strange ring of fire opening up on the other side of the world. If the sky suddenly got torn open by a huge ring of fire, that moment would be enough to make us forget all our usual ideas about safety. No sirens, no quick explanations, just this image hanging in the air, blazing, swirling, and making time feel like it's squeezed tight. In those first seconds of seeing it, a lot of folks could only stand still because something inside told them this wasn't a normal sight. The thing happened in Leavenworth, Kansas, about 25 miles northwest of Kansas City, a peaceful flatland area